Okay, so, bear with the mic quality and maybe some background noise. It's raining outside, but this is going to be my first official video. Yeah, actually I don't have a mic, I'm using my phone right now, but this is going to be my first official video on YouTube. And, as it says in my description, there's a universe that I've created called the Manawell. It's less of a universe and more of a multiverse. And so the first universe, or realm, that was created was the manawell. And it was a plane of immense energy. This energy existed everywhere. And it didn't have mass or anything, so it could exist in the same place as solid matter. And this energy, mana, started leaking out of the manawell, and eventually the mana coalesced in a matter very similar to how stars form. The mana grouped together to create the first two semi-material realms. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, the only two semi-material realms, which were the infernal and celestial kingdoms. Now, I'm going to start with the infernals, because honestly I like them better. And essentially, the infernals are more... how do I put this? Their hierarchy is not necessarily hierarchy. Hierarchy is determined. I'm trying to find a good way to put this. They are more focused on intelligence and scholarly uses. They have quite a few casters, spellcasters. And so let me clear up the infernal and celestial. They both have a similar hierarchy. Essentially, there are three main variants, both of celestials and infernals. And for each variant, there is a monarch, and then also there's a overall monarch. So they all have different names. In the infernal kingdoms, they're just called monarchs and heirs. And then in the celestial kingdom, they're called, I don't know, but it's like military terms. I don't know military terms, so I should probably look that up, but I'll determine that in a bit. So then the three variants of infernals, there's the brutes, the weavers. So the brutes are like the tanks. They're covered in tough scales. They have the ability to conjure axes, or just weapons in general, melee weapons out of mana. They have super strength, because of, not necessarily super strength, they're just really, really strong. Their horns are sort of like ram horns. They curl up and back. Yeah, they're like ram horns. And yeah, they're just covered in tough scales. Then you have the weavers, which are the spellcasters of the bunch, and they have patches of scales. They're not covered in scales, but they have patches of scales. Their horns are, I guess, similar to the ones you would find on tieflings, in that they just sort of curve along, like on top of the head, pretty much. A bit over, but mainly just sort of above and back. Yeah, they're spellcasters, they're covered in patches of scales, and essentially they can manipulate mana to a degree, and specialize in fire and earth casting. And then you have the Shades, one of my personal favorites. They don't have scales. Their skin is just a pale gray. And they have a wide range of abilities. Sorry, I got cut off last time. I ran out of storage space, so I just deleted some stuff. The Shades can have a wide range of abilities that can vary from invisibility, teleportation, speed, anything that would help with espionage, because they are the spies. And then, if you move over to Celestials, you have Valors, which is essentially the equivalent of Brutes. They're the tanks. They typically wield a sword and shield. And they have the ability to create force fields, and an ability called Divine Lightning, which is essentially just them shooting pseudo-lightning out of their hands. I call it pseudo-lightning because if it was actual lightning, it would just arc back and kill them. So, yeah, it's a pseudo-lightning that essentially, it's just a bolt of energy. Typically, their Divine Lightning is weaker than others, but their force fields are rather strong. Then you have the Valkyries, who are typically lighter. They don't have as much armor, probably leather armor normally. They have the ability to conjure weapons and a stronger ability of Divine Lightning. However, they are more fragile. They're essentially the DPS unit, I guess. Then the last unit would be Channelers, which is the caster, kind of, because they're runesmiths. They can enchant items using runes. Bit of background, runes are symbols that can attract, trap, or alter. Essentially, runes can have a bunch of different effects on mana. So channelers, when they're enchanting, they'll use the mana traps to imbue an item with mana. However, they also have the ability to create runes in the air and use them to kind of spellcast, which is normally more powerful, but also takes